Hi, and welcome back to the Intervention channel. My name is Steve Bruno, and the subject of today's video is the intervention timeline. And this is really an important subject. It's an interesting subject to me. Over the years, having done as many interventions as I have, many hundreds, I have had experience with different timelines, right? And what I mean, a timeline is a section of time taken from a period of time that has a beginning and an end, which represents the length of time it takes to begin an intervention, in this case, an intervention, or an activity, right, to its end or conclusion. And for me, the conclusion or the goal is to get the person I'm hired to help into the program of choice with enough willingness to start. I don't come with a guarantee, but I do come with a 97% success rate, so, you know, there's that. So the way a timeline looks on an intervention, in my definition, well, let's start with most people's notion, and this is something that, one of the reasons I wrote my book, was that I felt people had a really, I don't know, misguided idea of what an intervention is in terms of not only the elements of the intervention. For instance, how do we get David to admit he has a problem? Like, why the hell would I try to get someone to confess to his mother? And there's actually a video on this, so getting an addict to admit he has a problem. I have a chapter in my book called The Confession. It's the whole reason I started writing my book. Was because of these questions that came up. But one idea that I've heard again and again and again is, well, an intervention is, you know, takes a day, maybe two at the most. A lot of intake counselors will tell people, well, it should take just a day or two, maybe three at the most. Look, an intervention takes as long as it takes. It is not, it's just an arbitrary that people would have this idea that an intervention is supposed to take 3 days. I don't know who came up with that, but the sooner you disillusion yourself of that, the better, because to what I tell people is it can take, you know, it takes as long as it takes. The shortest intervention I ever did took me 30 minutes. I went in, the girl was a wreck. I sat down, I told her about the place. She said, okay, we were in the car, we left. They probably didn't even need me, you know, to be perfectly honest, but, you know, they were afraid, and, you know, there was a scary situation for the parents, so it's understandable that they hired me, but that was a short intervention. The longest intervention, well, I don't know, the longest intervention I actually did was weeks, because the guy was homeless and he happened to be local to me. So I told the family that I would continue to work with him, but we never knew where he was. So the intervention didn't, you know, if you were to connect all of the pieces where we were in communication, overall the intervention probably took a day, but it was 6 weeks of waiting around for this guy. Where the hell is he? We don't know. He was spotted here, now he's gone, blah blah blah. So it wasn't even cat and mouse. I wouldn't even give it that much credit. It was just a waiting game. But the longest in-person intervention I did while traveling was in Mineral Wells, West Virginia. I did an intervention on this kid who was a meth addict, and we did the eviction. We had the loving offer. First I had the phone call, then I made the trip. This is all part of the intervention. They made the phone call, made the trip, we planned it out, we mocked it up, we planned, we rehearsed, we made the offer, very loving, very caring. He was somewhat receptive, then he ended up walking out. And then he ended up going back to his apartment in this particular township. They can do evictions like that, not like California where I live, not like a lot of states where you have to give an inordinate amount of notice, this kind of a thing, and then maybe the sheriffs will show up a month after that, that kind of a thing. No, Mineral Wells, West Virginia, you can have the landlord go to the court, ask the court for the sheriff to come and get the guy out, and they'll do it. They'll come and they'll get the guy out like in 2 days. So beautiful thing for an interventionist, certainly, with the guy. And he was punching holes in the walls. He was smoking in the apartment, so she had grounds. So anyway, we got him evicted. Still didn't pop, right? So he was riding around on his bike. He was staying with his girlfriend. And then that got shut down. Then he was hooking up with his girlfriend's mother. And then with her sister. He's a good-looking young man, and he was, working it to his alleged advantage, or what he felt was his advantage. I mean, we're in Mineral Wells, frigging West Virginia. He's got a program for him in Huntington Beach. You can't even find Mineral Wells on a map, and Huntington Beach is Huntington Beach. And I was like, why are we still here? I mean, he's a young, good-looking guy. He'd be a god among men out here, come on, this is a no-brainer. And yet, the meth had him in shackles. The demon that is known as meth had him in shackles, chained to its demise, and to his demise. And so he was spinning around, and I ended up running a bunch of interference. I won't get into all of the details of it. We don't really have time for that here. But needless to say, the intervention overall took me a total of 10 days. From the time I arrived to the time I arrived at treatment with him in tow. 10 days. And he did really well, by the way. After all of this, he did really well. So what's the difference between a 1-hour intervention, a 2-day intervention, and a 10-day intervention? Nothing. It's just the length of time. So the timeline, if you look at the timeline of an intervention, you'll see the phone call, maybe to me, with the treatment center, choosing a program, determining if you need to hire a professional, planning the intervention with the professional helping you do it or without, making the offer, and then you'll see a series of mushroom explosions, right? After that, the objections, the effort on the part of the addict to put his parents and his family into a panic and into crisis to get the motion to stop, right? To get the intervention to stop. He's going to do whatever he can. He's going to jump over the back fence. He's going to, or maybe he'll isolate and get depressed. Maybe he'll disappear, whatever. In this one I'm just doing right now, the mother is so afraid of him being homeless that's the button that the kid pushes all the time. Well, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to be homeless. And he's got this like fantastic detox to go to, beautiful treatment center with an Olympic-sized pool and a hot tub and all this. I'm going to be homeless. It's like, no, he's not. He's got this place to go to. Well, but what if he's homeless? And, so he's just working that. And then, so you have that happen, and then you have him going into agreement, getting, the last hurrah. There's a video on what that is here, the last blowout before he dries out, and then arriving at the program. And that timeline can be like this, right? Or that timeline can be like this, or like this, or like this. And it's just a question of endurance, right? Perseus said, he conquers who endures. And that's true in an intervention. The reason that a lot of interventionists and families have a 30%, 40% success rate is because they don't endure. They don't persevere. And a lot of the time, that's all it takes. Of course, you're going to get blowback. Of course, you're going to get a no. Of course, you're going to get the addict fighting with you. That's what interventions are. They're a big friggin' mess. And if you're a chess player, you don't just get up because the guy makes a move. You sit down, you stay there, and you play the game. You play it until you cannot play it anymore, or until you win. Period. That's it. Those are the only two outcomes. You play it until you actually cannot play it anymore. There are no plays to make, or you win the game, right? Or you've determined that in rare cases that you've lost. I rarely lose. Like I said, 97% success rate, because in large part I persevere. Okay, we're out of time for this particular video, but I did want to at least cover that so you have some idea of what you're getting into, and going in with your eyes open. It's better to prepare for a long intervention and end up with a short intervention than to prepare for a short intervention and not be prepared for a long intervention. So there you go. You can buy my book. It's called More Than Hope. A lot of these video subjects are covered in more expansive detail in my book. More Than Hope is available on Amazon and Kindle. There's also a link below. You can visit me on my website and ask me questions directly at stevebruno.com. You can call me. My phone number is there. Text me. You can also write your questions in the comments section below, and that way everybody can see the answers. And there's a subscribe button, especially if you're a professional. I'm going to be having interviews with the addiction professionals, all kinds of things coming up on the Intervention channel. As of the making of this video, it's being launched Christmas of 2020. Very excited. Christmas is just around the corner, and the launch of this channel. And hopefully you have learned something here. I've been able to illuminate something for you that you did not otherwise, would not otherwise know. My name is Steve Bruno. Thank you for visiting, and thank you for watching the Intervention channel.